I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. I'm going to continue my reading now. We are still in the Gospels. Recently we read his trip up into Samaria. Along the way he taught the Samaritan woman at the well. When he gets there, he heals the nobleman's son. Now he's up in Galilee now because the people in Jerusalem are seeking his life. This is all in the first few months of his mortal ministry. This is just a few months after his baptism. So that is where we left it off. We're going to now pick it up in Luke chapter 4, verses 16 through 32. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, This day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. And all bare him witness, and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, Is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, Ye will surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And he said, Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. This is the Jewish practice. Synagogue, that's where you went for your weekly church meeting. The synagogue was the building, and you would meet, and as was the custom, you had the minister, the rabbi who conducted everything, but people could get up and read from the scriptures and then discuss it as a general body. That's you just talked about the scriptures. So as was his custom, he gets there, he goes to the synagogue on the Sabbath, and when anybody is invited to get up and read, he asks for the scroll, the book of Isaiah. He reads this passage, which is from Isaiah chapter 61, verses 1 and 2, and then he sits down. And everybody's wondering, what was all that about? You didn't say anything, you just read the scriptures. And when they're kind of wondering about it, he says, well, today this prophecy is fulfilled in your ears. This is him proclaiming that he is the promised Messiah. He is the Son of God, prophesied of by Isaiah. But they're like, wait a minute, you can't be the Son of God, you're Joseph's son. We know your family, we know you've grown up around. How can you be the Son of God? We've known you since you were a baby. And that's why he says, no prophet is accepted in his own country. And that's the general rule, because people, when a person appears human to us, people tend to think that they are not. A prophet is seen, a prophet needs to be more than human. The Son of God should be more than human. And so if we see him as a human, well, then he can't be a prophet. He can't be the Son of God, because that's not what prophets are. But he says, they reject it. He says, well, you're just going to ask me, if I try to teach you this, if I try to tell you the truth, you're just going to ask me to perform the miracles because that's all you're interested in. But we get a little bit more here. We continue in verse 25. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the days of Eliseus the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, save Naaman the Syrian. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up, and thrust him out of the city, and led him unto the brow of the hill whereon their city was built, that they might cast him down headlong. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way, and came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee. and taught them on the Sabbath days. And they were astonished at his doctrine, for his word was with power. Now these two stories, this is Elias, this is the Greek form of Elijah. And what we have here is the story of Elijah and the widow of Zarephath, which is the name in the Old Testament. Sarepta is again the Greek version of the name, where Elijah came and, make me a little cake first, and the cruse of oil and the barrel of meal will not fail during the famine. Then, of course, the story of Naaman the Syrian being cleansed by bathing 7 times in the Jordan River. Eliseus, that's the Greek form of the prophet Elisha. And what Christ is teaching here is that God didn't give his blessings to Israel because they were Israel. He gave his blessings to the faithful. And when the faithful weren't of Israel, they still were blessed because they had the faith. It's not lineage that brings the blessings of God, it is faith. That's what Christ is trying to teach them. But they reject him. They actually try to kill him. They're going to throw him off the hill, off the cliff. But like he just passes through them. They all kind of bring him up there. He just walks out. So that's kind of the power of the Spirit there. He, in essence, makes them not see him. He's not literally invisible, but in my mind, it's more of a suggestion. He suggests to their mind that he's not there, and they believe the suggestion. But then he goes to Capernaum, and he preaches there, and they are astonished at the power of his words. So, anyways, let us look at the Joseph Smith translation really quick here. In verse 18, we have a few minor grammatical updates. Again, in verse 20, 23 has a few grammatical updates. 25, 26, all of them just grammatical updates. 27 again, and 32. A lot of grammatical updates again. So, for example, here in verse 25, King James says, "But I tell you of a truth." But Joseph Smith just has, "But I tell you the truth." It's a minor update in language. And we have in verse 26, "But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow." And Joseph Smith simply has, "But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta of Sidon, unto a woman who was a widow." Minor grammatical updates, nothing earth-shattering, nothing real important there. So we leave it, and the next few videos are going to be combinations of several Gospels telling the same story, so I will see you there.